you're a devout Christian, incest is okay.
I remember asking one of my teachers, I was like, so Adam and Eve, they had 3 sons, I think, or 2 sons, 3 sons. And I was like, so how did...
Andrew Schultz, famous comedian, podcaster, recently started talking about the viral video of the Island Boys kissing one another. If you don't know who Andrew Schultz is, again, he's a famous podcaster, comedian. He's been on Joe Rogan, and he seemingly has become a Christian or inching his way towards Christianity. Was recently talking about an experience that he had in church when he began to cry. Talks about God a lot. So did his cast on his podcast, right? They don't always get it right, this is one of those episodes, but they're talking about the Island Boys. If you don't know who the Island Boys are, they are famous for singing the Island Boys song. I think they made it up. I'm not sure, or they wrote the song and it went viral. Anyway, they recently put out a video where they are kissing, and it looks like even their tongue and everything is it's just a little wild, identical twin brothers. And so Andrew Schultz and his buddies, right, his crew, they're reacting to it. And Andrew Schultz says something really shocking about what he believes that Christians are okay with. Let's check it out.
Can I just say something? It depends who you are.
And by the way, there is some cussing. So just be forewarned.
Religiously. Because if you're a devout Christian, incest is okay.
Oh.
Incest is okay. Incest is part of it.
That is a good point.
Wait, why?
What do you mean? They be fucking
They be doing
each other.
that shit biblically.
They be incest, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Son, you was getting in where you fit in, and sometimes where you fit in is the family.
Yeah, it fits perfect.
Do you know what I mean?
I remember asking one of my teachers, I was like, so Adam and Eve, they had 3 sons, I think, or 2 sons, 3 sons. And I was like, so how did...
I always thought that too, yeah.
And then they were like, well, we don't know exactly how many people. And
Yeah, I remember asking my Sunday school teachers when I was a kid, where did all the other people come from? When Cain killed Abel, right? And God sent him away. He cursed him, put the mark, and he said, hey, go. And there's all of a sudden these other people. It's like, where did all these people come from? We're going to talk about it.
they had, God works in mysterious ways.
Even scientifically, if there's only,
like, what?
unless there was like 10 people that got dropped here or sprang up and they weren't related, there's first man, then there's probably first woman, and then, probably the same. They're probably incestual.
Now, if I was to say, I don't think they were all made by Adam and Eve. I don't think we're all direct descendants of Adam and Eve. What's his face?
Now, that's, again, that's a controversial statement that he just made, that he doesn't think they were all made from Adam and Eve, meaning that God must have created people after Adam and Eve, meaning that, and this can't be, because if original sin started with Adam and Eve and these other people were created by God after that, then were they not sinful, or did they, it gets a little confusing. But again, let's listen, let's talk.
Sleep with his daughters or something?
Starts with a J, maybe?
Go.
Joseph.
No. The dude who...
They're still learning the Bible.
There was a story that I remember being told.
his daughters rape him.
Oh, Moses, maybe?
No. His daughters rape him.
So you should know this.
Oh, yeah. Tamar and Lot. Yeah.
How? What happened?
Because you just learned it. Because you just learned it, bro. You just learned it.
Can I tell you
You're
something?
born again Christian. You just learned it. Yes, you did.
It was given to me. It was given to me. God gave it to me.
Nah, but
In that moment, God gave it to me.
No, I learned it that long
They
ago
were
because I'm
afraid
a real
of him
Christian.
having descendants, so they got him drunk and had sex with him without
him.
They raped him.
That's Old Testament?
Both daughters.
These are Jew books, bro.
One
You keep
gave
reading your Jew
birth
books.
to Moab, and the other gave to Ammon.
Exactly.
Oh,
That's Old
so that's
Testament?
why.
If you're Christian,
And
you
Jewish,
can't be that judgmental.
and Jewish.
Okay, so that is the clip that I wanted to show you, where they, again, Andrew Schultz is confused here biblically, thinking that incest is okay. Now, there is an answer for this. I did find a video that I want to show you that will condense what I may long-windedly tell you, but they do mention a couple of the instances in the Bible that most people refer to when it says that God is okay with incest. And again, Adam and Eve, their kids sleeping together, and then Lot, when his daughters get him drunk and sleep with him, and they can continue the lineage that way. But I want to show you a video, and I'll comment throughout the video through by gotquestions.org. There's a lot of great content on there, and then this will help clarify everything. So let's take a look at this.
Today's question is, why did God allow incest in the Bible? In this video, I'll answer that question from a biblical perspective. Then afterwards, As always, I'll share some helpful resources, so stick around until the end.
Check it out.
There are numerous examples of incest in the Bible. The most commonly thought of examples are the sons and daughters of Adam and Eve. Abraham marrying his half-sister Sarah, Lot and his daughters, Moses' father Amram, who married his aunt Jochebed, and David's son Amnon with his half-sister Tamar. It is important to note, however, that in two of the instances, Tamar and Lot, one of the parties involved was an unwilling participant in the incest, better described as rape in those cases. It is important to distinguish between incestuous relationships prior to God's commanding against them in Leviticus chapter 18 verses 6 through 18 and incest that occurred after God's commands had been revealed. Until God commanded against it, it was not incest. It was just marrying a close relative. It is undeniable that God allowed incest in the early centuries of humanity. Since Adam and Eve were the only two human beings on earth, their sons and daughters had no choice but to marry and reproduce with their siblings and close relatives. The second generation had to marry their cousins, just as after the flood, the grandchildren of Noah had to intermarry amongst their cousins. One reason that incest is so strongly discouraged in the world today is the understanding that reproduction between closely related individuals has a much higher risk of causing genetic abnormalities. In the early days of humanity, though, this was not a risk due to the fact that the human genetic code was relatively free of defects. Another consideration is that incest today...
Now that's an important point, sorry to pause it there, but he says that the genetic code was relatively free of defects. This is absolutely true. Adam and Eve were created. They were first genetically perfect, right? And their gene pool wasn't polluted as ours is. As today, we are born with different diseases, different addictions, different things that happen depending on what's passed down to us. This was not the case there, but there's more. There's more to this answer, so let's keep listening.
Almost always involves a prepubescent or powerless victim, and the perpetrator is abusing his or her authority with the goal of unilateral sexual pleasure. By that standard, the incest of the Bible has nothing whatsoever in common with modern-day incest. There was no power difference between Cain and his wife. For example, the goal of Abraham and Sarah's marriage was to create a family. Intermarriage among close family members was a necessity in the generations immediately following Adam and Noah, and was not a sinful perversion of sex. It seems that by the time of Moses, the human genetic code had become polluted enough that close intermarriage was no longer safe. So God commanded against sexual relations with siblings, half-siblings, parents, and aunts and uncles. Genesis chapter 2, verse 24 seems to indicate that marriage and sexual relations between parents and children were never allowed by God. It was not until many centuries later that humanity discovered the genetic reason that incest is unsafe and unwise. Genetics was not an issue in the early centuries of humanity, and the marriages that occurred between Adam and Eve's children, Abraham and Sarah, and Amram and Jochebed were not selfish pursuits of sexual gratification or abuses of authority. Accordingly, those relationships should not be viewed as incestuous. The key is that sexual relations between close relatives were viewed differently pre-law and post-law. It did not become incest until God commanded against it.
All right. So that is a great answer. I agree with exactly what they're saying there in gotquestions.org. That when it comes down to it, again, we have the gene pool situation where it wasn't polluted with what we have today, all the sin, all the sin that got past our nature, but all the toxins and pollutants and different genetic different things that we deal with today, we're born with. It's just, you get what I'm saying. And so there's that. And then what we have to remember, though, is that incest was created by God later, right? So incest before this, again, we have the genetic code thing, wasn't incest. It was the way that the world was being populated. It wasn't even a thing. So nobody saw it as that until God commanded them and created a law against it. So it would be like, and I know this is probably a silly illustration, but if you are hungry, right, and you had no concept of money, and nobody ever told you that you trade money for goods, and you walked into a grocery store, you might just start picking what you want and eating, right? Maybe even eating in the grocery store or taking what you want and leaving. And if nobody told you that, hey, you have to purchase that or you have to buy that, money wasn't a thing that you were ever taught, then you don't know about the money, right? Then somebody teaches you, hey, you have to work, you earn money, you go to the store, you spend money on things that keep you alive, right? Then it gets inserted into how you live, the routine of life, right? And the laws that we abide by, like stop signs and speed limits and all of the above. But if you don't know about them, you don't think you're really not doing anything. So this is the other thing is that people want to judge the Bible and say that God allowed this, but it wasn't even a thing, right? It wasn't a thing until God established the law, and then he said, incest is a thing. Do not do this anymore, right? And so scientifically, there were reasons for that, and spiritually, God just said, "Hey, this is the law. This is how it's going to be." And so that is the answer. Again, Andrew Schultz, as much as I appreciate him bringing up the Bible all the time, or more often than not, recently. He's wrong when he says that Christians are okay with incest, especially today. In today's age. That ended a long time ago, Andrew. Hopefully you continue to grow closer to God and you start to understand and be able to answer some of these questions. With that said, he still respects Christians, even though he thinks they believe this. So that's I don't know what to think about that. I don't know. You tell me. But anyway, I hope to see you on the next one. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all the above. Let me know what you think. See you.